The hotel ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers and old friends, but the sharpest thing was Tatsuya's sneer.
Still a nobody, aren't you, Hiroki? 20 years, and you are still picking up trash.
Hiroki said nothing, his calm eyes meeting Tatsuya's grin without a flinch.
A toast to those of us who actually made it. Not all of us can be sanitation engineers.
A few of Tatsuya's cronies laughed. Others looked away, their champagne suddenly heavy.
Come on, don't be shy. The city would be doomed without you emptying bins, right?
Hiroki's hands around his glass of water didn't tremble. They never did. Under the chandelier, Hiroki stood alone in the center of the divide. Tatsuya had drawn. Kenji's smile was a twitch away from apology. Miyuki couldn't even look up. Then, the grand doors at the back of the ballroom swung open and the laughter died.
You'll regret not going. Not for them, so you know you didn't hide.
That morning, Akari had been right, but under the chandelier, Hiroki wasn't sure anymore. Mrs. Yuriko stepped inside. Her kimono was 100 years of dignity. Her eyes, a quiet verdict. Tatsuya's champagne arm lowered. He hadn't expected the honored guest before his big toast.
Mrs. Toyama, you are early. We were just about to raise a glass to the class's success.
She walked past him without a glance, each step a small earthquake in Tatsuya's chest.
Why is she ignoring me? I planned this whole night. I am the success story.
Whispers ignited. Every head turned. The headmistress was walking to the one man nobody had toasted. She stopped in front of Hiroki. For 3 seconds, the velvet box in her hands was the center of the universe. Tatsuya's champagne flute slipped a fraction. He couldn't look away from the box.
Hiroki Sato, would you step forward with me?
The room held its breath as the quiet engineer set down his glass and obeyed.
What is this? Why is she talking to the trash man?
Mrs. Yuriko took the microphone and faced the assembly, the velvet box still cradled in her palm.
6 months ago, this city faced a flood that should have destroyed us, but it didn't, because of one person's design.
Must be that councilman who funded the levy. Always knew he'd get a medal.
Her voice carried the weight of a near tragedy, every word pulling the guests toward the box in her hands.
This is my moment. I'll be the one shaking hands with her after she's done.
She paused, scanning the crowd. The nation had asked her to present this award tonight to one of their own. She smiled, fingers curling around the velvet lid. Then she spoke the first syllable of a name that would change everything.
Hiroki Sato, for his genius that turned our sewers into shields.
The name froze the champagne in 100 glasses. Tatsuya's world tilted.
Number. It can't be him. He's the garbage man. This is a farce.
Yuriko opened the velvet box. The metal inside glowed like a caught sunbeam.
The National Engineering Award for the subterranean grid that held back the flood. Without him, this city would be underwater.
Hiroki took a step forward, his expression unreadable. The room was silent. Every breath held.
This is a mistake. I am the success story here. I planned this whole night.
But the truth was in the medal, and the medal was in Hiroki's future. The past had just been rewritten. Yuriko lifted the medal from its bed of velvet, and the ribbon caught the light like a river. And then, the first clap. A small sound, then another. The wave rose, and the room began to thunder. Yuriko pinned the medal to Hiroki's jacket with the steady hands of a teacher who had seen greatness before the world did.
Hiroki was the brightest student I ever taught, and he's the only one who visited me every single year since graduation.
Real work is the work no one notices until it stops.
The ovation crashed over him like a wave he didn't need, but the room gave it anyway. In the roar, Tatsuya turned toward the exit, his champagne flute abandoned on a table.
Leaving so soon. Tatsuya, not going to congratulate the man you just called trash?
Miyuki's tears were not only for the medal. They were for the silence she had kept.
Congratulate him? After I called him a nobody. This is a nightmare.
Hiroki touched the medal gently, his expression unchanged. The honor was heavy, but his shoulders had carried heavier. The reunion had turned inside out. The trash man was king, and the king was trying to find the door.
You think a medal changes anything? I built a company. He plays in the mud.
But the room had no patience for his brand of mud now. Even his cronies studied their shoes.
Enough, Koda.
The voice came from a man in a charcoal suit, who had been watching from the back all evening.
Your company lost the flood grid contract. And you know who designed it? The man you just called trash.
Tatsuya's mouth opened, but nothing came. The champagne had long since drained from his glass, and now the blood drained from his face.
You rejected his proposal 3 years ago, called it impractical. But it saved the city, while you lost us millions.
A collective gasp rippled through the ballroom. The mockery had a cost now, measured in contracts in flooded basements.
So that's why the project stalled. They wouldn't even look at the full plan.
The reunion had become a trial, and Tatsuya Koda was the accused with the evidence pinned to the hero's chest.
You called his flood grid proposal a fantasy, so you lowballed the bid. The city approved it without us, and we lost the century's biggest infrastructure contract.
The grid was unproven. No one else took it seriously. It could have failed.
But it didn't. It succeeded beyond anything you could imagine. And the man you mocked made it happen.
The silence in the ballroom became a thick, suffocating blanket. Classmates shifted, unable to meet Tatsuya's eyes.
They never even looked at the full plan. 3 years wasted because of his pride.
Expect a full review of your conduct. Your future with the company is no longer yours to write.
Nakamura turned and walked out without another word. The ballroom doors swung shut with a heavy finality.
This can't be happening. My career, my reputation, all because of him.
Classmates gathered their coats in slow motion. Kenji sent Hiroki a look. Not pity, but a promise to make things right later. The reunion dissolved into an aftermath of abandoned champagne flutes and a medal that outshone every title Tatsuya had ever carried.
I knew you could do it, Hiroki. You never needed their approval, but I am glad they saw anyway.
She held him as if she were pinning the medal herself, with love and with certainty. Unseen by them, a classmate's shaky video of the medal moment was already uploading to the prefecture's largest community page. In the back of a taxi, Tatsuya's phone lit up with the very footage that would undo him.
They can't see this. I won't be the villain of this story.
By sunrise, the clip had 40,000 views and a caption that stung. Local trash talker learns what real work looks like.
This is a nightmare. Nakamura will see this video. My career is over.
By noon, a local news portal had written a short article. Reunion hero saves city, humiliates bully in return. Akari watched the view counter spin, a smile playing on her lips. This was justice, and it was only beginning. But Hiroki, sitting beside her, was already thinking about the next grid update. The real work never stopped. By 8 the next morning, the video had crossed 100,000 views, and Nakamura had already summoned the board.
Koda, you are placed on administrative leave, effective immediately, pending review of your conduct and the rejected bid.
They'll see my side. I just need to control the message before this gets worse.
An hour later, a statement appeared on a corporate gossip site, claiming the grid was unsafe and Tatsuya had rejected it out of due diligence. The statement read, Mr. Koda's decision was based on a third-party risk assessment that later proved flawed, but his motives were honorable and in the company's best interest. Within 2 hours, the city's chief engineer publicly refuted the claim, posting the safety certifications and thanking Hiroki personally.
No, no, no. I am finished. They'll never believe me now.
At a quiet cafe across town, Kenji and Miyuki stared at their phones, guilt finally too heavy to carry alone.
We have to make this right. I am going to call Hiroki. I don't care if he doesn't want to talk.
Hiroki's phone buzzed. He looked at the unknown number, then at Akari, and answered. The next afternoon, Hiroki walked into the cafe. Kenji and Miyuki stood so fast, they almost knocked over their coffees.
Hiroki, we laughed because it was easier than standing up to him. I am ashamed. I am so sorry.
I didn't say anything. I just stood there while he called you trash. I can't forgive myself.
You are here now. That's more than most would do. I don't hold it against you.
The air in the cafe softened, but before another word, Kenji's phone lit up with a breaking news banner from the prefecture's top broadcaster. Breaking. City Council launches formal investigation into Koda Industries over rejected flood grid bid.
Miyuki, look. They're investigating Tatsuya's company. It's really happening.
So the truth is finally reaching places that matter. Not just a reunion humiliation, but the whole system.
He might lose everything. And he almost cost the city everything.
The personal apology now sat against a backdrop of systemic consequences. Hiroki's work had been proven right by more than the applause of a ballroom. The city council's investigation committee called Tatsuya in for a day-long testimony. Every failed decision was laid bare in a sterile boardroom.
I can't spin this. The documents, the numbers, they all point back to my rejection.
By Friday, the board's gavel fell. Nakamura's voice cut through the silence.
Koda, this board votes unanimously for your termination, effective immediately. You are also barred from any executive role in this prefecture for 5 years.
Fired. After 20 years, one mistake, and I am nothing again.
That evening, a call came to Hiroki's home. A national news network wanted an exclusive interview with the man behind the flood shield.
Say yes, Hiroki. Not for yourself, for the whole sanitation team. Let them know who keeps the city alive.
The interview aired the following Sunday. Hiroki spoke of the grid's unsung engineers, the ones who weld in the dark, never once mentioning Tatsuya. In his office, surrounded by packed boxes and an eviction notice, Tatsuya watched the broadcast. Hiroki's calm face filled the screen, now a national hero.
This isn't over. I won't fade away while he takes everything from me.
That night, Hiroki found Akari at her laptop, staring at the original reunion footage. She sighed, then told him the truth.
I sent the video to the news. I couldn't let it just disappear into the ballroom. It had to be seen.
You did that? For me?
For the truth. You deserve to be seen, Hiroki. The city needed to know who really saved them.
Meanwhile, Tatsuya's rage had calcified into a plan. He knew Hiroki's workplace. He'd force a confrontation the cameras couldn't ignore.
You think you are a hero now? Call off the media circus, or I'll make sure everyone knows this was all a setup.
There's nothing to call off. The grid saved lives. That's all that matters.
A coworker's phone camera caught every word. Within minutes, a new clip was online, and Tatsuya's fury played on a loop. Security escorted him out, but not before the image of Hiroki standing, unshaken, became iconic. Akari watched the new video from home. She didn't flinch either. Her secret was out, but Hiroki's gratitude was all that mattered. A week later, a formal letter from the city arrived. They wanted to rename a facility and host a commemoration ceremony in Hiroki's honor.
I can't do this. I am not a hero, Akari. I just did my job.
But you did the job that saved us, and your team worked in the dark. They deserve to be seen.
Mrs. Yuriko, visiting for tea, set her cup down with the quiet weight of a teacher who knew when to speak.
Accept it, Hiroki. Not for your name, but for the next generation. Let them see that the quiet work matters.
She's right. If I refuse, I silence every worker who will never get a medal. This isn't about me. I'll accept, but only if the ceremony honors all sanitation workers. This must be about the work, not just one person.
The city agreed immediately, and the planning committee sent out invitations for a commemoration that would spotlight the entire department. Across town, Tatsuya found an eviction notice on his door. The luxury apartment was no longer his, and movers were already packing. He slung a duffel bag over his shoulder and headed for his parents' house, the final symbol of his fall. The commemoration hall was packed with dignitaries, journalists, and classmates who had once laughed. Hiroki walked to the podium under a standing ovation, the medal around his neck, a quiet contrast to the roaring crowd.
This honor belongs to every sanitation worker who keeps this city breathing. Real work is the work no one notices until it stops.
He pulled a cord, and the plaque was unveiled. Sanitation workers, honorary facility, with his name below, small and humble. At the back of the hall, a figure in an ill-fitting coat watched through the shadows. Tatsuya's eyes were hollow.
They're cheering him while I am nothing. This is torture. I used to own rooms like this.
Akari and Yuriko watched from the front row, their smiles a shared relief. The quiet had finally been honored. Hiroki raised his hand, not in victory, but in thanks to the workers standing near the exits, the ones who never saw a podium. Before the reception began, Tatsuya slipped out. No one noticed. The ghost of a man who had once commanded a ballroom. The contrast was absolute. One man stood on the shoulders of the invisible, while the other had vanished into irrelevance. A local news station had invited Tatsuya to clear the air. Under the hot studio lights, he accepted his last gamble.
I may have misjudged the proposal, but I never intended harm. I hope the public can forgive a moment of error.
The clip aired with a caption that dripped irony. Former executive apologizes for calling Hero trash. Comments exploded. A top comment read, "The only thing in the trash is that apology." Days later, the official investigation results were public. A 2-year ban from city contracts, a massive negligence finding, and a pending civil suit. The committee found willful negligence in Koda's rejection of the grid proposal, costing the city 4.2 billion yen in potential damages. The studio had emptied. Only the monitor's blue glow and the weight of ruin remained.
They're coming for everything. My savings, my parents' house, it's all gone because of that meeting.
1,000 miles from the noise, a letter with the Prime Minister's seal awaited Hiroki on his coffee table. Akari framed it gently, and Hiroki, sipping tea, looked not at the letter, but at her. The real work had never needed a seal. A few days later, Kenji called again. He asked Hiroki if a few more classmates could join a private dinner. No cameras, no pretenses.
We want to apologize properly, Hiroki. Everyone who was there that night. Will you come?
I'll come, but no more apologies needed. We'll just have a meal.
The private room at a small restaurant was soon filled with classmates, their faces an open book of regret and hope.
Hiroki, watching you stand there, I've never been more ashamed or more proud.
When I called out Tatsuya, I wasn't just angry at him. I was angry at myself for laughing.
You were all scared of being the next target. I understand that. Let's just move forward.
Across town, Tatsuya's phone buzzed with a message from a former colleague. Did you see? The whole class is having dinner with Hiroki tonight.
They're all together celebrating him while I am stuck in my parents' house. I am the outcast now.
In his childhood bedroom, Tatsuya sat motionless, staring at the blank wall, the silence his only dinner companion. A national newspaper ran a front-page profile. The sanitary genius who saved our city. Interviews from Yuriko, co-workers, and Akari painted Hiroki as a humble hero. He taught us that real work is invisible. All of us who doubted him owe him an apology. Yuriko was quoted saying in the article. At his parents' house, Tatsuya stumbled upon the article online. The headline felt like a brand on his skin.
A civic saint. They make him sound like a god, while I am the demon. Maybe I am.
That afternoon, he found a pen in an old notebook. For the first time, he wrote without calculation. I called your life's work trash because I was too afraid to look up. I was wrong. I am sorry. He folded the paper, sealed it, and then stared at it. The stamp remained on the table.
I can't send this. He'd never believe it. I wouldn't believe it.
Unaware, Hiroki returned from his morning inspection, work boots muddy, and kissed Akari before heading to the shower. The letter sat in a drawer miles away, and the hero went on with his day, still doing the work. No one noticed. Months later, the sanitation workers' honorary facility stood finished, clean lines and quiet dignity under a bright sky. Hiroki, in his worn charcoal jacket, was handed the ceremonial scissors. A small crowd of colleagues and city officials watched.
Let's keep the city breathing.
No long speech, no self-promotion. He simply cut the ribbon and stepped back, his work already bearing fruit beneath the city. Across town, Tatsuya was stocking shelves at a convenience store. The job a far cry from his executive suite. A television hanging from the ceiling played the local news, the ribbon cutting Hiroki's calm face. The headline, Unsung Hero's Legacy.
Even here, I can't escape him. But I can't hate him anymore. He's doing the work I never could.
He didn't throw anything. He didn't curse. He just resumed stocking the shelves, his hands moving on their own. The city had its hero, and its villain had become someone who just put things on shelves, anonymous and broke. The public chapters were closed. The real work, as always, continued underground, silent and vital. A friend texted Akari later that week. Tatsuya's wife had left him, citing his disgrace and the years of arrogance in the papers.
Part of me feels pity. He built his own fall, brick by bitter brick.
She set the phone down. The medal on the mantel caught the room's warm light, a symbol not of pride, but of quiet endurance. That evening, Hiroki came home to the smell of miso and the sound of his wife humming an old song they had danced to years ago.
You've been smiling since I walked in through that door.
I was just thinking about the kind of man who never needed revenge and still won everything.
I never wanted revenge. I just wanted to do the job right, no matter who noticed.
That's exactly why you are loved, Hiroki. Not for the medal, for the man who wore it without changing, who kept showing up.
They sat at the small table by the window, the evening light fading, the framed medal catching the last glow, witnessing their peace. He reached across the table and held her hand, the gesture saying more than any speech could hold. A few years later, Hiroki walked the tunnels of a new expansion, his hair grayer, but his eyes no less steady. Beside him, a young recruit, fresh from technical school, asked the question Hiroki had heard 100 times.
Why this line of work? Because this is where I can make the biggest difference. People only notice us when it fails. So, we make sure it never fails.
The recruit's eyes widened, not just at the words, but at the quiet authority of a man who had lived them. He had expected lectures about duty. Instead, he found meaning in the echo of water pipes.
Stay curious. Ask hard questions. And remember, the most important job is the one nobody sees.
The recruit nodded. A new fire lit behind his eyes. In the dim tunnel, a torch had been passed. Hiroki watched the young engineer walk ahead, seeing the same hunger he had once known. The work would continue. The real legacy was never the medal on the mantle. It was the hands that would carry the city after him. Years later, on a porch overlooking the breathing city, Hiroki and Akari sat as they had 1,000 evenings before. The sunset painted the sky in colors they never grew tired of, and the world below hummed the song of a city still standing. Their hands found each other, fingers weaving the years into a quiet knot. No words were needed. Behind them, through the window, the framed medal still hung on the mantel, but it had become just a part of the room, no larger than a bookshelf. Hiroki looked out at the grid of streets and sewers, the invisible shield he had built. He smiled, not for himself, but for the millions who slept above it. Akari watched him, her own smile a quiet echo of decades of pride. She had always known. The city's hum joined the silence between them, The real work had been done, and it was still being done every day without a headline. Real work is the work no one notices until it stops. And that evening, it didn't stop. It flowed beneath them, a river of quiet purpose, carrying the city into another night. Hiroki squeezed Akari's hand, a gesture that held all the words they had never needed to say. The sun rose over the Honore facility, its clean architecture catching the first light. A garbage truck rumbled past, the workers on board silhouetted against the waking sky. They had been here before dawn, and they would be here long after the headlines were forgotten. No cameras, no applause, only the rhythm of a city that never stops needing what they do. And the city breathed on, because someone did the work no one else would. That work flowed beneath the streets, a silent river, carved by hands that never sought glory. It would continue, generation after generation, as long as there were those who understood real value is invisible. The true legacy was not the medal. It was the morning truck, the echoing tunnel, the steady hands. Hiroki, Sato's name was on a plaque, but his spirit was in the water still running, the streets still dry, and the city, unaware, rested safe in its daily miracle.